Says Michael Popok, Legal AF, 3 active duty Marines in the intelligence community were arrested this past week by the FBI for their roles in the Jan 6 insurrection, an attack on our cradle of democracy. These 3 Marines, 2 sergeants, 1 corporal, are all part of the intelligence community of the Marines. I don't know what's scarier, that it took 2 years of diligent hard work to track down more insurrectionists who attacked our capital, or these 3 people were part of active duty military. This is only the second round of arrests of active duty military that the FBI has made since the beginning of the investigation. You might have heard about others that were arrested. Many were veterans. Many were former law enforcement or former members of our military, honorably discharged. But now we have active duty intelligence community participants who went down to the Capitol to attack it. Sergeant Abate, who is part of the Marine Corps Cryptologic Support Unit at Fort Meade, where the NSA, the National Security Agency, is also located. He was a signals intelligence operator. He got a commendation medal, Navy and Marine Corps, in the past. He was joined with this adventure, this peradventure, by Sergeant Helonen. He is part of the 3rd Marine Support Battalion, supporting the Special Operations Command at Camp Lejeune, and he is also a signal intelligence operator. And for good measure, they brought along another friend, Corporal Cooper, who is part of the 1st Radio Battalion, Marine Expeditionary Force, and he's at Camp Pendleton as well. And they were caught, thank God, because Sergeant Helonen posted on his social media, Instagram, how glad he was to be part of history, and posted a photo, which they then matched the photo of these 3 idiots with their military IDs and have now arrested them. They will be charged, or have been charged, with disorderly conduct, knowing entry into a secured location, which are all misdemeanors. And so the important issue here is that it is part of Lloyd Austin, our defense secretary's mission, to root out extremists, fascists, and others that hold views antithetical to our democracy from the military. They have no place, having taken an oath of office to swear to uphold and protect the U.S. Constitution and to fight, to give the ultimate sacrifice for their country. They can't also harbor racist, extremist views and attack our capital. The military won't stand for it. Lloyd Austin won't stand for it. And now these 3, 2 sergeants and 1 corporal, have been arrested as part of that. And we'll continue to follow this on Legal AF. But I think the takeaway from the announcement by the FBI and the Department of Justice is that no rock will go unturned in order to capture, prosecute, and convict all of those that are responsible for Jan 6th. Now, the instant pushback on that, and is one that I share, is what about those at the very top? What about Donald Trump? And what about all those people around him that activated the sleeper cell of crazy and is truly responsible at the very apex for what happened on Jan 6th? And for that, because they're not at the level of being the president of the United States or former president of the United States, that case is harder to make and has to be airtight and pressure tested before it's brought. We on Legal AF believe, based on our reporting and our review of the information that's available and some that's not available, that indictments against those at the very, very top, like Donald Trump and others, will happen sometime in the spring to summer period, led by Jack Smith and his recommendations. Now, of course, he's going to make the recommendations, taking the indictments out of 4 or 5 grand juries that are operating in Washington, D.C. You've got at least 4 grand juries. One is looking at election interference by Donald Trump and others. One is looking at the Mar-a-Lago stolen classified document issue. One is looking at the fake elector scheme or scandal implemented by Donald Trump. One is looking at everything that happened on Jan 6 and around Jan 6. And you have all of these, they're not competing grand juries, but these grand juries that are going on at or around the same time, being led by top-line prosecutors who have now inherited a new boss in Jack Smith. They're reporting to him weekly and daily. They're bringing in new witnesses into these grand juries. And what is going to come out of the grand juries, we believe, are indictments of people we've been talking about at length for the last 2 years. Eastman, Giuliani, Cleta Mitchell, Jeffrey Clark, Donald Trump, Michael Flynn, and perhaps Steve Bannon additionally for his role. So that's on the most wanted list. And the question is, the federal government, and I know people are frustrated with the pace at which they're prosecuting, but they're working through a grand jury process really in extraordinary fashion, including getting the judge that oversees all of the grand juries, who sits in Washington, D.C., getting her to strip away all privileges, attorney-client privilege, executive privilege, away from witnesses and forcing them to testify in front of the grand jury. And when she wanted a witness to testify, she told the Department of Justice, give that person immunity, and then they'll have to testify and not take the Fifth Amendment privilege. And so that has happened. So there's been a parade of really powerful witnesses, even in a different quality, a better quality than those that testified before the Jan 6th, that are wrapping up their work in front of that grand jury. In the meantime, the Department of Justice has to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I know a lot of people are saying, we don't care about 3 active duty Marines who got arrested. Everyone who is responsible should be arrested. And it's not an either or. It's not a zero-sum game. Because they arrested these 3 idiots doesn't mean they're not going to arrest anybody else, or this is going to take their eye off the ball of getting at Donald Trump and his cronies. Different set of prosecutors, different procedures are in place for that. So nobody, we have a habit on this side of the aisle of wringing our hands when things don't go in the order that we would like them to go in or in the velocity that we would like them to go in. But the reality is that these things are moving simultaneously. These big wheels and little wheels of justice are moving simultaneously throughout the country in different fora, in different grand juries, spitting out indictments. And so we're at the point now, after a full year of investigation, for 2023 to be the year of indictments. But that shouldn't let other people off the hook, like the 3 Marines, Coomer, Halonen, and Abate, from being arrested. If active duty military is participating in insurrections, a scary thought, they should be rooted out as a first priority under this Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin. And this is part of that process. We'll continue to report on all the big and small wheels of justice as they move forward. This is Michael Popok with Legal AF reporting.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.